Hey Studio K team, thanks so much for joining me in the lab for our fourth and final week of our Wierd Science series, the series that's all about obedience. You guys, we've heard so many amazing stories from the Bible, from the beginning of Genesis with Adam and Eve to Noah. Then we met Abraham last week, and Abraham was asked to leave his family and his house and everything that he knew just to follow plans that God had for him that he didn't quite fully understand. Well, it ended up working out for Abraham and his wife Sarah, and they ended up having a son named Isaac. Well, in this week, Abraham is tested. He's tested by God asking him to go up to a mountain and sacrifice the very son that he blessed him with, his son Isaac. Well, God ends up providing a ram in the thicket that ends up being the actual sacrifice, but Abraham did not withhold his son from God. God used that seed of obedience of Abraham towards a bigger plan, a bigger picture, and that bigger picture was not only to provide a nation and several nations of people out of the seed of Abraham, but God decided he would bless those nations as well because of Abraham's obedience. In our large group, the host or the Wierd Scientist will come back up and break the group out into two different teams. Each team will do the same type of experiment, and it's going to be crazy. There's going to be bottles and ingredients and exploding balloons, so get ready, small group leaders. It's going to be fun. Each child in the group will have a different role, and it will help symbolize the different roles and the different parts of the puzzle or pieces of the picture that God has for our lives. The first activity we'd love for you to do is called a piece of the puzzle. Each of the pieces of the puzzle in the take-home activity represent a different story in the Bible. Each of these stories play a role in God's bigger picture, and that bigger picture is to bless us and love us and to have us succeed. Well, we are still playing different roles in those different pieces of the puzzle of God's greater story. That's why it's so important for us and our kids to trust and obey. The next activity is called a bigger picture, and this activity will require a series of different pictures that represent different scenes from the story. Well, as the scenes of the story increase and grow, the picture becomes more clear. We're not always able to see the bigger parts of the picture. That's why when teachers and parents ask us to do things, even though we can't fully understand, it's still important to trust and obey. The last activity is called Spoons, and I love this activity because not only is it a memory verse activity, but it also will allow you to review all of the messages throughout this Wierd Science series. So you'll see a series of different pictures, and those will all represent all of the different messages that we've heard, from the fall of Adam and Eve to sin, to Noah, who was obedient to God even though people around him weren't obedient. Then the star will represent the promise that God gave to Abraham and his desire to obey God even though he didn't fully understand all of the plans that God had. And then finally, you'll see a cross and a heart, which represents the fulfillment of this promise, God providing us a sacrifice, which ultimately represents the sacrifice of Jesus. So, you guys, we're so excited for you to be a part of this kids ministry this weekend. Why? Because of you, because of your consistency and your desire to spend an hour each week with a child. You are changing that child's life. You're introducing that child to values, concepts, and ultimately a Lord that will change their lives forever. We love you guys and we appreciate you so much. Thanks for being a part of NLC Kids.